Hey, J-Bo Nation! Shaming of Jay. He's not a dopey dumb bitch. He gets laid. The court jester, the court DJ. It's time to dive into the case. To the case.
What's up, everybody?
Good afternoon, fam. Welcome back. Welcome back. Welcome back.
I hear as I'm booting this up, I hear my dogs going crazy. I'm like, what the fuck? So I run over while your intro is playing. There's like a bumblebee on the ground by the door. They are going crazy. I think Penny might try to bite. I don't know. They don't know what they're doing.
My dog is highly allergic to bee bites or bee stings. Like, he swells up. Like, he's come in like a couple times during the summer where his entire face is swollen, and it's like the saddest thing you've ever seen. But I know it's from bee sting. So, like, we brought him to the vet. We're like, do we need to be concerned about this? And the vet was like, well, you got to keep an eye on it, because I guess there's like, they can't continue to get stung. They can get dangerous.
I'm gonna be right back. I'm gonna go get those fucking. And this is gonna be a test, because I'm gonna turn off my camera and let's see when I come back if it works. I'll be right back. I'm gonna get this thing out of the house.
All right, I want to keep time. 1,000, 2, 1,000, 3, 1,000, 4. Just kidding. We're not gonna really keep time. That was from Swingers. In case you guys have never seen Swingers. We did that. We watched that. I watched that with Steve and Dan on Publicly Buzzed. We had a great time. It's classic. It's classic. Classic Vince Vaughn. Just a classic movie. Loved it. And let's see. I did, Susan Skinner. I did see the Delphi docs. I posted State's response to the motion. I've not posted the other document, which is essentially trying to cast shade on Todd Click, who is the law enforcement officer that is going to be testifying on behalf of the defense. So he's trying to cast shade, intimating that Todd Click has mental problems. So the game is fully afoot in Delphi. I'll tell you that. You are seeing all the pool being played, clean, dirty, and otherwise. That's how trials go.
Here's the question.
Okay, we don't see you, dude.
Fuck. I thought I
did. Nope. No J-Bo. No J-Bo. Just a little head, tiny head. Crush your skull, crushing your skull. I can crush your skull.
I cannot believe I didn't fix it. I'm gonna lose my fucking mind. That's what I was working on all fucking.
I mean, at some point, we may have to reach the conclusion that your special little sound bite mic does not work with.
I don't think it's the camera.
I don't know. Oh, there's a new motion to compel a motion for sanctions filed by the defense. Woo-wee! I didn't see that. I guess Daddy's going live tonight. Uncle Bob's going to have to go live and put some shit up. But I'm doing I've got like I'm on with another creator who's got a pretty nice little show, and he's it's quite frankly TV. He's got a pretty nice audience. I've been on with him once before, and I had planned this a long time ago. So I'm not sure what time we're going on with him, but I definitely have to go live tonight. So just keep a lookout. I'll let you all know as soon as possible. Yeah, we're gonna have the motions blender going at full speed in that case as we rapidly approach trial. So it's gonna be exciting. It's gonna be exciting.
I'm back. I'm with my stupid face to. Oh, this is so upsetting. What did I do? What are they waiting for? I don't even know.
Maybe Chad's taking a huge dump.
Oh, they're waiting for the jury, I guess.
John Pryor, can I go to the bathroom and take a huge shit before court starts? Chad, you're running very low on time, my friend. You're gonna have to make it quick. Okay. All right. Thanks, John Pryor. I just envision that Chad calls John Pryor all the time.
All right, thank you. Please be seated.
John Pryor. Welcome back, all the lovelies, by the way. I know we said that already, but for those of you just coming in late.
We are back on the record on
back.
KCR 22-21-1623, State of Idaho versus Chad Guy Daybell. Concluded our lunch recess. Court notes the presence of the prosecution as well as the defendant and counsel for the defendant. In addition, the jurors have all returned and are properly seated. Deputy Cannon is on the, is on the stand and has previously been sworn. And I will note that based on a request from counsel to end slightly early today, the court's intention would be to take evidence going forward from now until 3 o'clock and forego the normal afternoon recess in order to stop a little early but not be interrupted by the recess. So hopefully, if the jurors are able to make it through that time, we'll go ahead and recess today at 3 o'clock without a mid-afternoon break. However, if for whatever reason you do need a break, just please advise the bailiffs or the court and we'll do that. So
suck it up, jurors.
with
We
that
all
in
want an
mind,
early break.
Mr. Wixom, I believe you were conducting direct still of this witness, and you can continue.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Good afternoon, Colton Cannon, if that really is your name.
Now I'm gonna go check and make sure my dogs aren't having an allergic reaction to it. I'll be right back.
Their faces will swell up. That's what
God,
it's terrifying.
So, Deputy Cannon, I believe we left off and I was asking you about what you first did when you arrived at the location.
Yes.
Okay. And what was it that you first did when you arrived?
I drove through the area looking for the suspect in that area. So,
and what was the description of the suspect that you were looking for?
a male wearing all black clothing and a black ski mask.
And what did you find, if anything?
We didn't locate anybody in the area matching that description.
When you say we, was there other law enforcement helping?
Yes, there was another deputy that responded to the area as well.
When you responded and looked for that person with that description, did you do that from your patrol vehicle? Did you do it on foot? How did you do it?
Yes, it was from the roadways in the area. We drove through the areas and tried to look for anybody matching that description from our vehicles.
And once that was completed, what was the next thing that you did?
I went to the Daybell residence and contacted Tammy at the front door.
Okay. And what, if anything, happened in that conversation?
Yeah, so I contacted Tammy by knocking on the front door. She answered the door. I just kind of tried to get her information, what happened. She told me that she had just got back from grocery shopping, was getting groceries out of the backseat of her car, noticed a male standing at the rear of the vehicle. She confronted him and asked him what he wanted. He didn't say anything. He just held up the gun, and she heard two pops and then yelled for her husband. Chad, and that he eventually came outside.
Okay. While you were talking to Tammy, did you have any contact with Chad?
I didn't have contact. I didn't talk to him. He was there present when we were having that conversation though.
Where was he relative to where you and Tammy were having the conversation?
So we were standing by the front door of his residence, and him and his son was actually standing back towards the kitchen area, maybe 10, 15 feet from us.
Any question from your perspective that he would have been hearing the conversation you were having?
Absolutely, he would have heard it.
And when you were there talking to Tammy, were you wearing a uniform with a gun and a badge?
Yes, I was.
Did anything at any time during your interaction with Tammy, did Chad attempt to talk to you in any way?
No.
Anything about that unusual to you?
I thought it was kind of odd that she had just been like victimized and he wasn't taking any actions to protect her in a way, I guess, but that was just my thoughts personally.
Did that play into your investigation at the time at all?
No, not really, just that it was odd.
What did you do next, if anything?
After that, I went outside. I walked around the initial area where the vehicle was, looking for any shell casings or paintball marks or anything like that in the area.
Does a paintball gun typically have a shell casing?
No.
So,
Jan, I just checked on the dogs. I think they're okay. They seem fine. For folks who don't know, one day on stream, Penny ate a frog and started foaming from the mouth. So it's certainly better than that. They both seem fine, folks. Thank you for asking.
why did you say you were looking for shell casings?
If it was possibly a firearm and not a paintball gun.
And did you find any indication either way?
No, I did not.
What did you do next, if anything?
I went and talked to Joseph Murray, who was across the street chopping wood. I spoke to him for a brief moment, just trying to figure out what he saw. And that he told me that he heard Tammy scream and he saw a male run around the north side of the property.
Was there anything contradictory between what Tammy had said and what Joe had said?
No, there wasn't.
At that point, did you do anything further or did you leave the property?
I cleared from the scene, unable to locate any suspect or that.
After that incident on the 9th of October, do you recall ever going back to that address?
Not on the property at all. I might have drove past the property, but I didn't go to the home.
Did you ever participate in any searches on that property?
Yes, further in later on in the next year.
To the best you recall, what was the date that you participated in that search?
It was January 3rd
Of what year?
2020.
What were you there searching for?
We did a search warrant on Mr. Daybell's home. I helped the FBI sift through the snow, again, looking for any shell casings, any evidence that we could possibly find of a gun being used there.
So at either point, did you find any evidence of any bullet or any traces of any shots in any buildings, anything like that?
Not to my knowledge, no.
So as far as you sit there today, would there have been anything else you could do to investigate that particular call?
And me personally, no.
No, I have no further questions at this time.
All right, thank you, Mr. Wixom. Mr. Pryor, cross-examination.
Thank you, Judge.
Babe is currently landing in Chicago, Bob, and then she'll be on her way home in a little bit.
I could sense her. I felt her. Or as soon as the wheels.
Officer Coulter, you made an initial report in regards to this case. Is that right?
Yes, I did.
Okay, and the initial report was relatively brief.
Yes.
You recall that?
Yes, I do.
and then you made a subsequent report afterwards. Do you recall that as well?
Yes.
What's the time frame between the initial report and the subsequent report?
I don't recall exactly the time difference between them.
Okay.
I didn't look at that.
Was it a week?
No, I think it was further out, maybe a month or so, 2 months. I'm not 100% sure.
Okay, and then you also made some comments about not wearing a body cam on that day. Is that right?
Yes, I didn't have a body cam on me.
Blair on Kick says, Bob, you picked up on her vibration. You felt the vibrations they've been talking about.
That day.
Big time.
You were a
Big
patrol
time.
officer,
I'm
is
gonna
that
probably
right?
just go to
Yes,
my
I was.
portal.
Standard
and
issue
just
to
have her
have a
come
body
on through the portal.
Yeah, we could have her come out to the portal. Bring the camera to the closet and then bring her.
Exactly, and we'll have lunch, and then I'll portal back to the airport. It'll be perfect.
Cam,
It was lost, or it was
Andy.
broken and lost. So
when did you break it?
couldn't tell you exact date.
Did you try to replace it the same time you realized that it was broken, or did you wait a little while?
I informed my sergeant that it was broken.
Okay. And then you went on a call and you didn't have any body cam to actually accurately reflect what was transpiring that day, correct?
No, I didn't have body cam.
Okay. And Judge, could we utilize the HDMI?
You gonna publish something, Mr. Pryor?
I want to show the officer a copy of his report if at all possible.
Okay, are you gonna do that by giving him a copy or publishing it?
I'd like to publish it and have him look at it while I speak to him about it, if that's acceptable to the court.
From the defense, any objection to doing that?
No objection, Your Honor, so long as he admits it as an exhibit. I'm not sure he should be publishing things to the jury that aren't admitted.
Judge, I can do it the other way and ask the officer when he did his report, but he doesn't have a recollection of when he did the supplement, and there's 3 parts to this report. So my hope is that to show him the report, lay the proper foundation, and then I'll move to admit defense exhibit 89. But if your court prefers a different manner, we can go a different way.
Okay, well, it's up to you. We just can't publish it until it's been admitted. I agree, so that in case it's not admitted, the jury doesn't already see it.
Okay.
So however you want to handle that, and if the state doesn't object, then we can perhaps shortcut that.
And Judge, can I have my laptop approach the witness with a copy of my laptop, show him the reports, and have him authenticate the reports?
Yeah, perhaps maybe just ask Mr. Wixom and show him what you've got and see if the state is going to object. I think he's indicating maybe he's not.
Judge, we're not going to object to that approach at all.
So it's 89.
89, and the parts are A, B, and C, Judge.
All right. Well, if you just want to move for the admission, then
I'll move for admission then, Judge.
No objection.
all right. Defense exhibits 89, A, B, and C
Yes,
are
Judge.
admitted. And what are are they 3 separate reports, or what are the exhibits? If you just describe them for the record.
Judge, A would be the an initial report, which is about a paragraph. B would be approximately a 2-paragraph report that was done, I believe, a couple months later. And C would be just the initial incident report by Officer Coulter, the face page of the incident report.
Okay, and we'll just need to be able to make sure to get those submitted into the record for evidence, but you may go ahead with those now admitted and publish, and we'll make sure the court receives copies so they can be given to the jurors for deliberation.
And Judge, whenever the clerk is ready to bring that up.
Yes, it can be published.
Okay. Now, do you recognize this report, officer?
Yes, I do.
And is that your report?
Yes, that is.
And that's a true and accurate reflection of what you prepared close in time to when the incident occurred. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay. So if you would do me a favor and read the very first sentence.
I was dispatched to a suspicious call of a male holding a paintball gun at a lady on 1900 East and 200 North.
Now, 1900 East and 200 North is Chad Daybell's property. Is that right?
Well, that's the intersection.
The intersection.
Yeah.
And Mr. Daybell's property is on the corner of which would be the northwest corner. Does that sound right?
Northeast.
Northeast corner. I'm sorry, I got my east and west backwards. Okay. Now, when you first testified for the prosecution, your comment was in regards to a paintball or gun incident. And you made a point of adding the word gun after paintball.
Well, it's a paintball gun. So
So you knew
she
this was-
reported different things of possibly being at a gun or a paintball
When did she report that?
in her 911 calls.
Okay. Could we have a copy of exhibit regarding the 911 call, please?
Which one? There were two.
Well, Judge, I think what I'm going to do is play actually both of them.
All right, those are exhibits 232A and 232B.
And Judge, I'm going to get through this before we start the 911 call. Just right there is fine. Thank you, officer. So your recollection of the 911 call is that Miss Daybell said something about a gun as well?
Yeah, she just said gun as well in that call.
Okay. Okay. But the dispatcher said it's holding a paintball gun, correct?
I believe so.
And then it says that you attempted to locate suspect but couldn't find anyone in the area, right?
Correct.
You talked to her and she said she noticed a guy standing behind her and was holding a paintball gun again, right?
Yes, sir.
That's what your statement says, right?
Yes, sir.
So the dispatch was about a paintball gun. When you spoke to her, she said it was a paintball gun and then pulled the trigger a couple of times and then ran off and was described as 5'11", 190 pounds, right?
Approximately, yes.
Okay, and then you didn't locate anybody, right?
Yes.
Okay. Then you, a couple of months later, your story, at least your report expanded a little bit. Would that be fair?
Yes, I was asked to put more detail into it.
You were asked to put more detail into the report.
Yeah, just to be more brief about actually more detail on the report.
Who asked you to put more detail into the report?
I don't exactly remember who asked me. It was one of my supervisors.
So one of your supervisors said they needed to get more detail in the report.
Yeah, they just said be more specific.
Okay, and that was after the death of Tammy Daybell, right?
I believe so.
So this occurred on October 9th, correct?
Yes.
And Tammy Daybell died sometime shortly after that, correct?
Yes, I believe so.
And then after you did your initial report, your supervisor came up to you and said, you know, we don't have enough information in that initial report, so we need to add some more information, right?
Well, just more detail.
Okay. Was this such a significant issue with a paintball gun that it required you to go back and then write a 2-3-page paragraph with more detail on it after the incident had occurred 60 days earlier?
Can you ask that again? Sorry.
Well, they put you up to putting more detail because they were trying to get you to allege that in some way there may have been a gun there. Isn't that what the police are trying to do here?
Objection, Your Honor, argumentative.
Sustained.
So you put in your report on October 9, 2019, 21:45 hours. You were talking to Tammy Daybell in front of her home, right?
Yeah, it should have been in her home.
Okay. Front room of her home.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, I listened to the 911 call and I seem to recall the 911 call coming in at 21:49. So you're not quite clear on the hours that you talked to Tammy, right?
Yeah, it might have been a different timestamp. I'm not sure.
Okay. So if the 911 call says 21:49, we can rely on that reasonably well, right?
Yeah.
Okay. And then you put in your report that at 21:45, you were talking to her 4 minutes before she ever called in the 911, right?
If that's what it's saying, yeah. I guess.
Okay. Well, we'll go back and listen to the recording again in a minute here, but, and her son were sitting back with the room by the door. Okay. That I believe that led to the kitchen. They were sitting back in a room by a door.
Sitting at the back of the room by the door. They were standing there in the
Okay.
doorway.
Okay. And then you made mention of the fact, and when you revised your report a little bit, you mentioned that she was standing at the back of her car with a gun she believed to be a paintball gun. So you've added the word gun, and said believed. So what you're really doing is she told you it was a paintball gun, right?
To my best knowledge, yeah.
Yeah. And the 911 dispatcher said it was a paintball gun, right?
Yes, I believe so.
So why did you put that caveat in there saying believed to be a paintball gun? You knew it was a paintball gun. There was no gun there that day, was there?
I
Sustained.
She said she screamed and her husband ran and son. So her husband and son took action. They ran out and they tried to see what was going on, correct?
I'm sorry, where are you at in the
Middle of the news statement, Tamara stated she screamed and called for her husband and son. Okay. Right?
Yes.
And to your recollection, the husband and son went out and looked at the what was going on out there, correct?
As far as I'm aware, just Chad.
Okay. So from your perspective, it was unusual the way Chad acted, because when his wife said someone shot a paintball gun at him, you think it's unusual for him to run out and see what's going on, right?
No, that's not what I said.
All right. But you did say it's unusual because he stood there silently while Tamara talked to you, right? That was unusual?
Yes, it was unusual that he didn't get involved in the.
Do you know anything about Mr. Daybell's personality?
I did not.
Do you know that he's somewhat of a shy person?
No, I did not.
Okay. Do you know that he's somewhat of a humble person?
Objection, Your Honor. The attorney is testifying.
Sustained.
Okay.
Mr. Pryor, also please let him finish his answers. The court reporter's getting stressed.
Okay. And then you modified your original statement, because in your original statement, you said the shooter, according to Tammy, was about 5'10", 190 pounds. Where did you get the 6 feet tall and 200 pounds from?
I said approximately.
Okay. Well, why didn't you say what you put in your original report? Why did you add 2 inches and add extra weight on this person?
It was 2 months later. I was going off my memory.
Okay. Or is it possible that when your supervisor said we need a greater report with more detail that seems to point the finger at Alex Cox, is that why you changed it from?
Objection, argumentative, Your Honor.
Sustained.
You changed it because it didn't fit the scenario of Alex Cox, did it?
No, that's not why I changed it.
Okay. But you waited 2 months on a report before you decided to change that report, correct?
I didn't wait. I was asked to change it.
Okay. By your
Not change it, but to put more detail into it.
And I guess this more detail that you need of a paintball incident is a result of your supervisor needed more favorable information, didn't he?
Objection, argumentative.
Overruled.
Your supervisor needed more favorable information to link this to Alex Cox, didn't he?
Not to my knowledge, no.
Okay. Not to your knowledge, right?
No.
Okay. And then you say Joseph Murray, who lived kitty corner from the property, right?
Yes, he lived kitty corner.
You went over to talk to Joseph Murray, right?
Briefly, yes.
Okay. And Joseph Murray stated he was cutting wood, heard a scream, and he saw someone run around the north side of Tamara's property, right?
Yes.
Okay. Would it surprise you to learn that Joseph Murray may be telling you a different story than what you're telling this jury?
No.
Okay. That wouldn't surprise you, right?
No, it would surprise me. Sorry.
Okay. Okay.
Okay.
You know, did Joseph Murray hear a gunshot?
I don't know.
Well, did you bother to ask him if he heard a gunshot?
No. I
Well-
just asked him what he saw.
So according to your testimony and your report, Joseph Murray saw somebody running, and that's an important fact, isn't it?
I don't know.
Well, it's important enough that you had to change your report and add that into the report, right? So it must be an important fact.
I guess maybe so.
Okay. But wouldn't you think it'd also be an important fact if Joseph Murray had actually heard a gunshot of some kind?
I don't think he would have heard a gunshot if it was a paintball gun.
Exactly. Exactly. So this narrative that you're trying to suggest to this jury that this was a gun, You know it was a paintball gun, don't you?
Objection, argumentative.
Sustained.
All the information that's been presented to you points that this was a paintball gun, doesn't it?
No, not necessarily.
Okay.
No, not necessarily.
Yeah, what information from the reports you gleaned at the time you investigated this suggests that this was not a paintball gun? Give me a couple of reasons why you don't think this was a paintball gun.
Just from the calls and what I've heard on the testimony from Tammy's call.
Okay. Okay. So from Tammy's call and from your report and the dispatcher saying it's a paintball gun, where did it say it was a rifle or an AK-47 or anything like that?
I never said it was.
Okay. So again, you know this was a paintball gun, don't you?
No, I don't.
Okay. Judge, I'm going to replay the video if I can get it to work on my, the 911 if I can get it to work.
All right, let's get the caveman lawyer clip.
All right. Please clarify which of the two you're playing.
Your world.
And you may publish, but clarify which one.
232B will be first, Judge.
I got a portal sound. Let me know what you guys think of this portal sound.
Whoa. I just felt like I portaled somewhere, man. That's
Maybe not.
spot on, bro.
Your world frightens and confuses me.
If only I could figure out this machine from the future.
October
Learn
9,
how to put this-
2019, 21 hours, 49 minutes, 20 seconds.
Oh, man, robot. shit.
Fremont County Sheriff's Office. Hi, I need to report something. Okay, go ahead. What's the address? Okay, at 202 North, 1900 East. It's the corner with the blinking yellow light on Salem Highway. Is it a suspicious person? Yes. Okay, what was he wearing? He was all dressed in black and he had a ski mask on. And he said the blinking light now is where you saw him? No, he's gone now because I pulled up into our driveway and I was getting stuff out of the back seat of my car and suddenly he was there and he had a paintball gun and he was and like he was going to shoot at me. And I kept asking him what he was doing because I could tell it was a paintball thing. Okay. And then he just kept doing it. So I yelled for my husband and then he took off running around the back of my house. Okay, give me just 1 minute. Stay on the line with me. Okay.
So, I mean, the question becomes, did
So-
October 9.
Shannon hear the 911 call prior to arriving? Because if
2019.
Tammy can tell it was a paintball gun, you would assume that a trained officer would know what a paintball gun is in conjunction with a regular weapon, right?
21 hours, 50 minutes, 28 seconds.
And that was North 1900 East?
We can stop.
Yes. Okay.
And Judge, I'm done with the, so I was listening pretty carefully. I heard the word paintball gun and I heard the word paintball thing. Would you tell me on that tape where the word gun was used
Later on.
later on?
Mhm.
Oh, are you telling me there's more evidence here?
Of that recording, yes.
Where's that?
More further on in that recording, she talks more.
She talks, I didn't hear that. I heard it stop.
That's because you stopped it.
So there was mention of a gun, is that right?
I believe so.
You believe so?
Yeah.
And when you first listened to this, you heard the words paintball gun, right?
In her initial statements, yes.
You heard the words paintball thing, right?
Yes.
And the dispatch said that it was a paintball gun incident, correct?
That's what she put in her notes, yes.
And in your initial report, you said that it was a paintball gun incident, right?
Yes.
And then 2 months later, after Tammy Daybell dies, and you talk to your supervisor and you don't know why he asked you to change it, you changed it and now you're talking about possibly it being a gun, right?
Objection, Your Honor, that misstates the evidence.
Sustained.
Well, the subsequent report then starts hinting at, well, maybe this was a gun, right?
No, it's
Okay.
still a paintball gun.
Okay, all right, just so we're clear. Now, were you part of the other investigation that looked at some of the other possibilities of why someone on the property would be out there roaming around? Did you talk to any of the other potential suspects in this thing?
No, I didn't talk to anybody about Tammy.
Okay, who was the other officer with you?
Deputy Simper.
Okay. Did you go down and talk to one of the neighbors about the husband of a dog kidnapper that had been causing some problems down the street, just right down the street?
Not that I can recall.
What about the autistic child that was roaming the neighborhood, causing some issues within the neighborhood? Did you talk to that person as well?
Not that I can recall.
Okay. But you agree with me finally now that this was a paintball gun incident, right?
Like I says, I don't know if it was a paintball or a gun.
Okay. All right, Judge, that's all I have. Thank you.
So on redirect, the state now plays the full audio in the event that it does mention a gun, right? I mean, that's the move here.
Mr. Wixom, redirect.
Yeah, Your Honor.
Yeah. What
Yes.
about I want to know more about this dog kidnapper, and I want them to go straight to the fucking electric chair. Dog kidnapper? You kidnap my dog, you get the
Thank you.
chair.
Where's this dog kidnapping thing coming in? What are we talking about here? Did they mention a dog kidnapper?
Deputy Cannon, you were just asked on cross-examination a number of questions about having written this second report.
Yes.
So in reference to those questions, how long after this incident was it that you wrote the second report?
Like I said, I'm not 100% sure, maybe a couple months or so.
Is it fair to say that over the course of a couple of months, you have a number of calls and interactions with the public as part of your job?
Absolutely.
And as part of law enforcement, as a deputy, is it expected that you will conform to your superiors?
Absolutely.
So if a superior officer says, please go write another report, is that something that you would do?
Yes.
But in this case, is that what you did?
Yes.
Is there any question in this case, were you fed information to put in the report?
No, just more information about what happened.
But the information that you included in the report all came from your memory. Is that fair?
Yes.
You were asked some questions about whether or not you were wearing a body cam at the time.
Yes, I was asked that.
I think you explained that at the time yours was broken.
Correct.
Can you state, is it fair to say that at Fremont County Sheriff's Office, is there any kind of policy requirement that you wear a body cam for anything?
No.
So Shelly Beans on your chat asked, why does it matter if it was a real gun or a paintball? Pointed at her because what the state was intimating on direct examination is that this officer, Officer Cannon, Colton Cannon, officer extraordinaire, felt that it was unusual or strange that Chad wasn't reacting in a way that he thought would be normal if somebody's wife was threatened either with a paintball gun or a real gun. So Pryor was trying to establish that this was a paintball gun and, nothing happened. So Chad's response wasn't really that, or lack thereof wasn't really that abnormal. That's why he was kind of hammering home at that point. I'm not loving this redirect so far. I'm fully expecting they better play the audio if there is additional information, because that will not leave this cop looking very credible. If the state doesn't play it, it'll make it seem like it doesn't exist in the recording. So I'm anxious to see play it.
And so why do you normally wear a body cam?
Just for my recollection and safety and different things like that.
But that doesn't mean you can't perform your duties without the body cam.
No, it doesn't mean that.
And what else do you do when you have an incident besides recording it on your body cam? What else do you do as law enforcement to memorialize what happened in that incident?
I don't understand. Sorry.
Why do you write police reports?
Oh, so you can remember what happens.
Okay. And when you do that, do you write these reports to the best of your recollection?
Yes.
Yeah, they really write police reports because they know that when the
Defense counsel pointed
they
out
go
that
to
in one
trial,
report,
both the state and the
in
defense
the second
completely
report,
rely on them.
you had noted the time that you were talking to Tammy as being 21:45. Do you remember that?
Yes.
But yet we heard in the call that her call came in at 21:49.
Yes.
Can you explain that discrepancy?
It was probably I was dispatched at that time at 21:45, and she had called briefly thereafter
And again, when you were
when I was responding. Sorry.
finished, I'm sorry.
Sorry. When I was responding to the call, she probably made that phone call.
When you were writing that second report, were you writing it from memory?
Yes, just from my memory.
Is it possible that the 4-minute difference could have just been a function of your memory?
Absolutely.
And to be clear, you did use the word paintball gun in your report, correct?
Yes.
But yet, on direct, you indicated that you were looking for shell casings.
Correct.
What made you look for shell casings?
Judge, exceeding the scope of cross.
I'll sustain that.
Oh, interesting.
Was there anything about the information that you received when you initially investigated that would cause you to rule out the possibility that it could have been a real gun?
Sorry, say that again.
Was there anything about the information that you had when you first responded that would have required you to rule out that it could have been a real gun?
No, it's just she heard 2 pops and she screamed, and so.
So as you sit there today, from the information you have, can you rule out that whatever she saw was not a real gun?
No, you can't.
You were asked a question about whether or not Joe Murray had said if he had heard a gunshot. Do you remember that question?
Yes.
Why didn't you ask Joe if he'd heard a gunshot?
I guess it just didn't cross my mind. It didn't seem important at the time.
Did Joe bring up to you in the conversation that he'd heard a gunshot?
No.
Is that something that you might have assumed he would bring up?
Possibly, or if he saw a gun or something.
This is the last question, to be clear. In the second report, did you include any information in there that had been provided to you by anybody else?
No, just from my memory.
Thank you. Your Honor, I have no further questions.
All right. That'll conclude the testimony then of Deputy Cannon.
Thank you, Judge.
Thank you. Is the state or defense intending to recall this witness?
Judge, I subpoenaed Deputy Cannon, but I'm going to relieve him of his subpoena today so that he will no longer have to show up in my case in chief. You're welcome.
Your Honor, the state is not going to recall Deputy Cannon.
Okay, that'll conclude your testimony then. Thank you for appearing this afternoon. You can be excused, and the state can call up its next witness.
Your Honor, at this time, the state would call Officer Allie Greenhall.
Allie Greenhall. Come on down.
In on down, in on down, in a portal.
Whoa. That makes me dizzy every time you play that. So they didn't play the audio. Pause it real quick, Jay. We had a question from somebody in my chat. Let me pull it up. Meg P, one of my lovely mods, asked, you've probably already explained, but how can it only be Pryor handling a death penalty case when he is not death penalty certified? And 2, it's him and only him. So Pryor was retained privately. Okay. And when you are retaining a lawyer privately, there is no requirement that you be death penalty certified. Like if you're hiring your own lawyer, Sixth Amendment says you can hire whoever you want sometimes at your own peril. Now, in this case, Pryor asked for help. First, he tried to withdraw from the case because he wasn't getting paid anymore. He's basically doing this for free at this point. And believe me, like, I'm sure whatever he was paid, he is long exhausted that in terms of billing. But the judge said, fine, I will give you the money, or the county will give you the money for a public defender to bring on. And apparently he couldn't find anybody that was. And now, and for the distinction, if it is a public defender and it's a death penalty case, they have to be certified death penalty attorneys. So there's the difference. It's between public defenders. If it's a death penalty case, they have to be death penalty certified. If it's private counsel, they do not. So when the judge told Pryor, look, here's the dough, good luck, try to find somebody to help you on trial, he couldn't find anybody. And I think it's like, we know from Koberger and other cases, there are not a ton of death penalty certified attorneys in Idaho. So he just couldn't find anybody. And here you have it. Pryor's trying it himself. And I'm going to say it again. In light of that, and just on its face, Pryor is doing his damn job, like him or not. This is, like, you go hard against cops on cross-examination, like more than anybody. I mean, that is way cross-examinations, like you handle every cross-examination as the witness requires. If you're dealing with victims' families, you're handling it with kid gloves. You're not trying to be aggressive. You don't want the jury to hate you. If you're going up with a cop on the stand, you as a defense attorney understand that people still in this day and age, even though we've seen how many examples of police corruption and that it like absolutely exists in the world, and that it's very real, that people still have a tendency to give more credence and find police officers to be more credible on the stand than your average witness. It's facts. We ask it, and it's like one of the first things that Allison asks when we're conducting voir dire. Like always, just because a cop has a badge, are you more inclined to believe them as being truthful? And jurors are typically very truthful during voir dire, and they almost always say, yeah, I do, like, just by way of their office. So we have an understanding that as defense attorneys have to go at cops hard in order to try to show, look, cops can be full of shit. Cops are trained liars. They are. That's like, I'm not saying that they're all lying all the time, but they're trained to lie. In interrogation situations, they go to seminars to learn how to be able to try to extract statements out of people, especially suspects in interrogation situations. And that includes lying, because they're allowed per the Supreme Court to tell, tall tales out of school in order to try to get, that's why you often hear them saying, we know the information. We like another witness has taken a lie detector, and we know that you're lying about things. We know information that they don't really know. They do it all the time. So that's why when you see defense attorneys going hard at cops, that's one of the reasons why. I'm done.
Gretchen Rose, I'm in her camp. Two things can be true. Pryor's voice and manner can make me cringe, and I can find he's doing a good job.
100%. And that was exactly what I said this morning. It was the first thing I said. It can be, they're not mutually exclusive. You can detest everything about his demeanor and his candor, and the way that he's
direct.
But in terms of, whether or not he's doing his job, he clearly is.
To inquire of the witness, Officer Greenhall, have you testimony that's occurred in this trial thus far?
No, I have not.
Okay. Have you discussed with anyone else their testimony they've given at trial?
No, I have not.
Okay. Thank you for that affirmation. Mr. Wixom, you can inquire.
Thank you, Your Honor. Officer Greenhall, I believe I'm mispronouncing your name. It's Greenhalgh, isn't it?
Correct.
Okay, I apologize. Will you please spell your full name for the record?
Oh, first name is spelled Alyssa, and the last name is spelled Greenhalgh.
Thank you. And ma'am, can you tell the jury, where is it that you work?
Currently, I work in Rexburg, Idaho for the Rexburg Police Department.
What is your job title there?
I'm a patrol officer.
Real quick.
How long have you done?
I can't wait till I can pause. I'm excited about that. Annabelle, no, I'm not saying that. Jay, what I'm trying to say here is that Pryor's doing his job, and I'd like you to do a poll. I want, based on everything that we've heard thus far in this trial, okay, and I'm talking about every witness, who thinks that the state at this point has shown that Chad, and take away everything that we know about this case, take away that we all know the story. Okay. But we're talking about, if you're a juror on this case and you're just hearing this evidence, has the state adequately shown beyond a reasonable doubt that Chad is, number one, guilty of first-degree murder, and number two, of the conspiracy? Like, I'm waiting to see the evidence. I don't know that, like, I'm assuming that there's going to be bombshell stuff coming in because I haven't seen it yet. So I'm curious as to what the chat thinks. I don't have a defense attorney delusion.
Bob,
Yeah, what's up? Allie was talking to me. No sound. We can't hear you, Jay.
can you hear me now?
Yes, we can hear
I was
you.
saying I will do the poll in my. I could do it in my chat, but you got to do it in your chat. That's what I was saying.
Oh, okay. I'll do the poll.
I just threw mine up.
Okay.
And that.
Total about 7 years.
7 years with the Rexburg Police Department?
About 3 with Rexburg and 4 years before that with the Fremont County Sheriff's Office.
What was your job title at the Fremont County Sheriff's Office?
I was a patrol deputy.
And can you explain to the jury what post training or otherwise do you have as a law enforcement officer?
Currently, I hold an advanced certificate through the Idaho Post Academy, as well as some other miscellaneous specialty trainings.
And as part of your work for Fremont County, was it one of your functions to respond to calls about unattended deaths?
Yes.
From your perspective as law enforcement, please tell the jury, what is an unattended death and what is your function as law enforcement?
An unattended death is, generally speaking, any death that occurs where the person is not under a physician's care. Typically, somebody will call when they find a family or friend or loved one that has passed. And my duty as a patrol officer or deputy initially on scene is to respond before the detectives and the coroner get there, to check for obvious signs of foul play, and then request resources as needed.
And when you say foul play, can you tell the jury what types of things do you look for when you're looking for signs of foul play?
Yes, so typically we're looking for obvious injuries, disheveled houses, like if furniture is broken or pushed around, obvious injuries being gunshot wounds, stab wounds, needles, drug overdoses, things like that.
So with any given unattended death, is it fair to say that you respond with that role in mind, trying to either identify or rule out some foul play?
Correct.
Okay. I want to draw your attention back to October 19th of 2019. Do you recall responding to an unattended death call for a Tammy Daybell?
I do.
At that time, prior to your response to the scene, had you ever heard Tammy Daybell's name?
No, I had not.
Had you ever heard Chad Daybell's name?
No.
So you weren't familiar with either one of them?
I was not.
Who dispatches you to an unattended death?
Whichever dispatch officer is working that day.
So is it fair to say that when there's an unattended death, that someone will call into law enforcement and 911 or otherwise, and then they'll find an officer on duty and send them to the scene?
Yes.
Okay. Your Honor, at this time, the state wishes to request admission of what we believe is a stipulated exhibit number 233, which is a recorded 911 call made by Garth and Chad Daybell on the day of Tammy's death.
Any objection? Okay, Exhibit 233 then is the audio file of that call. It will be admitted by stipulation. Just make sure we have the correct exhibit submitted to the clerk, and then if you wish to publish, you may.
Thank you, Your Honor. Would the court have me send it up now, or should I play it first?
As long as you're convinced it's the right thing, you can go ahead and start publishing.
Thank you. Your Honor, would it be possible for, I think I skipped a step here, us to broadcast this over the court system by plugging my HDMI?
Sure.
Patty!
What's going on?
We just found my mom. She's on the ground frozen, or she's stiff, and I don't know.
Are you in Madison County or Fremont County?
Hello, I'm Chad, the husband. She's clearly dead. We don't know.
Sorry. Okay. Okay. Are you in Rexburg, or because your address shows Rexburg address, but you're in Fremont County?
It's a mile past.
Okay.
Oh, no.
Okay.
Oh. Yeah, she's not even. She's gross.
Okay, can I get your name?
Chad Daybell. Oh man. Oh.
Okay, Chad, I'm going to get somebody out to you right now, okay?
Yeah, the corner where the blinking yellow light is with the red house.
Yes, sir. Red house on the corner.
Yes.
Blinking yellow light.
Right.
Okay. We'll get somebody out to you, okay? I'm so sorry.
Okay.
If you need anything else, you call me back, okay?
Okay.
Okay, bye-bye.
Ma'am, to the best of your recollection, was that particular phone call related to your response to Tammy Daybell?
Yes.
Prior to responding to this, let me withdraw that. To the best you recall, what time of day was it that you were responding?
It was approximately 6 a.m.
And was it light outside yet?
I don't think so.
Prior to your response that morning, approximately how many times had you personally been involved with responding to an unattended death?
Probably 5 to 10.
And when you did, in fact, arrive, what was the first thing that you observed?
I observed Garth Daybell in the living room. He's the one that let me into the house. And then Chad came into the living room shortly after I arrived. And I just asked them what was going on and to show me where Tammy was.
And did they do that?
They did.
Let me pause and ask, at that point in time, was anybody else at the home?
No.
Did anybody else later arrive at the home that morning?
Yes.
Who do you recall arriving at the home?
The deputy coroner arrived, the coroner arrived, and then some family members also arrived later.
And for the jury's sake, to the best we can identify those people by name.
Yes, sorry. The deputy coroner, Cammie Wilmore, the coroner, Brenda Dye, and I'm not sure who the family was. I didn't speak with them after they arrived.
Were you aware if there was a male or female family member that arrived?
I think both. Several of his children showed up as well.
Okay. So you were explaining that you arrived and you made contact with Garth and then Chad?
Correct.
Just to help the jury have a picture in their mind, what was the layout of the home, the best that you can recall?
The living room is the first room that you come into, and then there's a hallway to the right. There are several bedrooms and a bathroom. Directly behind the living room across the hallway was the kitchen, and then to the left was the garage.
Okay. And relative to the front door, did you come in the front door?
I did.
Relative to that front door, where is the room that you ultimately saw Tammy's body in?
To the right at the end of the hallway.
When you came through the front door, where do you recall both Garth and or Chad being inside the home?
In the living room.
So could you explain again, what was the first conversation that you had with either one?
I asked them where Tammy was and what had happened, and then they walked me back to the bedroom where her body was.
At that point in time, did either one of them seem to have any emotion or anything like that going on?
Yes.
Both, or which one?
Chad was definitely more emotional than Garth was. He was sobbing and then would gasp for air. Garth was a little bit more reserved and didn't say very much.
So when you got back to the room where Tammy was, what was the first thing that you observed?
I observed Tammy's body on the bed, and her feet were hanging off the corner of the bed, and the mattress was pushed off the box spring just a little bit, and she was covered up with a blanket up to about her shoulders.
In that moment, did you notice anything else about Tammy's body?
Not from the doorway until I moved in closer to her.
Before you moved in closer, did you engage in Chad in any conversation about what had gone on?
Yes, during the walk back and while I first entered the bedroom, he was kind of explaining to me the course of events that had happened that morning.
What do you recall him explaining to you at that time?
He had told me that about midnight, Tammy had woken up with a coughing fit, and he said she had vomited on the bedroom floor and then had moved into the bathroom down the hallway and had continued vomiting. And he said he got up to help her clean up and then put her back to bed. And then they both went back to sleep. And then at approximately 5:40 a.m., he had felt the blankets shift off of him in bed and had woken up, and he said that he had thought Tammy had fallen off the bed. So he told her to get back on the bed. And then when she didn't answer him, he stood back up, turned the lights on, and found that she was unresponsive.
Did he indicate at that point whether Tammy had fallen all the way off the bed or just partly?
He did. He indicated that she had fallen partially off the bed because her feet were wrapped in the blanket and the sheets. And so her feet were still up on top of the mattress, but the side of her head was on the floor.
What did Chad do or say next, if anything?
He said after he had turned the lights on and found her, he checked her and then called to Garth for help to come help move her back onto the bed, which Garth came over and they both moved her body back up onto the bed.
So when you first, let me withdraw that. This is being explained to you as you're walking into the room where Tammy's body is?
That's correct.
So when you first walk into that room, did what you saw with Tammy's body match the description of what Chad had just explained to you?
Yes, it did.
And what about the covers on the bed?
The covers on the bed had been pulled back up, covering her arms to about her shoulders.
When you arrived, when you got into the room, can you describe for the jury what your observations were about the condition of Tammy's body at that point?
I first checked her for a pulse, which she did not have. Her skin was colder than the room temperature. Her body was stiff. And I recognized that she did have some pink foam coming out of her mouth and down the side of her face, and she was deceased.
And you personally had made the determination for yourself that she was deceased because of her pulse, or what was the big factor?
Correct. It was a combination of her body being cold and the fact that she did not have a pulse.
And at this point in time, when you're investigating an unattended death, do you gather more information from family?
I do.
Did you do that in this case?
I did.
What did you do next?
I asked Chad about if she had any serious medical conditions or had been sick recently. He told me that she had been suffering from a pretty bad cold and that she didn't like to see the doctor very often so that she hadn't been diagnosed with any serious medical conditions. He did tell me she had fallen in the driveway a few weeks prior that she had seen the doctor for, and she was going through menopause. He did say that she had suffered from low blood pressure and did have fainting spells once in a while as well.
Okay. And based on your recollection, was this information that Chad had relayed specifically to you at that point in time?
Yes, it was.
Did he say anything else about whether he believed that Tammy had any other major medical issues or injuries besides what you just talked about?
Not that he said to me.
Did he mention anything to you about Tammy having shaking fits at that point in time?
No.
Did he say anything about Tammy's sleep pattern generally?
No.
At what point in time, well, I'll withdraw that. As law enforcement, is it your role to determine whether or not it would be appropriate to have an autopsy?
It is not.
Whose role is that?
The coroner.
And then as you were there on scene, did you reach out to any other superior officers to get any help with your investigation?
I did.
Who did you reach out to?
I reached out to Detective Mattingly and Detective Kaya Kamanu.
And why did you reach out to them?
It's standard procedure when there's any kind of death, especially an unattended death, that we notify detectives to give them kind of the basis of what we've learned in our investigation to determine whether they need to respond or not.
Did they give you any instructions that you can recall?
Yes, they told me to take photos and then let the coroner decide whether or not to do an autopsy.
And in fact, did you take photos?
I did.
We'll get to those photos in just a moment. At that point in time, did you do anything else in your investigation?
No.
At any point in time, did you do anything to look at medications or anything else in the home?
I did.
When did you do that?
I did that shortly after I had taken some initial photos of Tammy's body while I was waiting for the deputy coroner to arrive.
And with respect to your time there and your observations, had you identified anything at that point that you felt like was suspicious about the scene?
No.
Now, were you basing that perspective upon the information that Chad was giving you?
Yes.
And without getting into it, were you basing it upon any information that Garth had given you?
No, because he hadn't given me any information.
Besides Chad, did any other family members give you any information that morning?
No.
When you were talking to Chad that morning, was Garth within earshot of that conversation?
Yes.
Did he ever voluntarily interject or contradict anything that his dad was saying?
He did not.
Did he try to add anything to the conversation?
No.
Your Honor, at this time, the state would like to offer up to the court and request admission of the state's proposed and marked exhibits 295A through. Sorry, Your Honor, 1 second. That these will be admissible, Your Honor.
Looks like we got a sidebar, folks. But we're behind, so I can just fast forward it. What's your poll at, Bob?
It's fluctuated. It's 65 votes. And my question was, pretend you don't know everything that we know. Has the state convinced you that Chad is guilty? It was 65 votes. It's 25% yes, 75% no.
Mine, I did. Do you think at this point the state has shown that Chat, I spelled Chad wrong, is guilty of murder / conspiracy? 92 votes, 58% no, 42% yes.
Interesting. I'd like those yesers to throw up like what evidence that they've seen that I missed some stuff, because I'm checked out, so it's possible that I missed some stuff when I'm checking out. But I'm curious. I'd like to know what
Sidebar, all right, thank you, counsel. The court will note in a sidebar, we just were reviewing these exhibits that are, as I understand, going to be admitted without objection, somewhat graphic in nature. The court's determined would be inappropriate to broadcast those publicly. However, of course, they will be published to the jurors and the parties. And so we've made those arrangements for the publication of those once they're admitted. And Mr. Wixom, if you need to take a moment to get that set up, that's fine. And that's the purpose of the sidebar we just had.
Thank you, Your Honor. If I could have just a moment, please.
I mean, why don't they, if they're going to do this, just turn off the camera that's on the screen and then no one can see it out there.
So this is
the state does not intend.
So Annabelle in my chat had said Chad's prediction of Tammy's early demise pre-Lori are just another nail in Chad's coffin. Please do not pardon the pun. Am I missing? Like, how is that? How is it, like, to me, that is helpful. I don't know. Does that seem like a damning thing for that to pre-exist Lori? I mean, if he's sitting there saying that he's always had premonitions or, that she was going to die early, like long before Lori, how does that help in a conspiracy case against him that he was conspiring with Lori? I don't know.
Yeah, I don't.
Record, the state does not intend to admit the photos in full sequence that we gave, Your Honor. May I correct and let the court know now which exhibits we're talking about?
Yeah, let's go through the admission process and then we'll go on to publication if you wish. So on the admission process, if you would set out in the record what you're being offered, and individually I'll ask defense if there's any objection.
Thank you, Your Honor. All of these photos for frame of reference are death scene photos of Tammy at the time that this officer responded to the call. They're marked.
So from the comments, I think that the thought is, Bob, that he was always planning on killing her, but now Lori's in the picture. Now he has a conspiracy that, like, he wanted to get rid of her.
But why? Like, if he doesn't have, like, I mean, she's the mother of his children. Like, until Lori and her sexy ass walks into the picture. I mean, like, why is Chad, like, what proof is there that Chad was trying to get rid of Tammy prior to Lori coming into the picture? Like, I haven't heard anything, and I didn't hear anything in Lori's trial, even remotely close to, like, any kind of proof that was true. I mean, like, I don't know. Like, and I want to be clear. I want Chad going down. I am fully on board with the fact that I don't believe for 1 second that Chad didn't know about this shit. It's the same thing that I was telling you about with, like, Wendy. It's all about what they can prove. You know what I mean? It's like that's what it is. In the disadvantage the state does not have here that they had with Lori is that aside from Tammy, Chad really didn't have anything to do with the kids. They weren't his kids. Like, you in Lori's case, you had a mother that would, like, just absolutely betrayed her children in the worst way that a mother can ever betray their children which is either to flat out kill them or to see to the fact that they were killed by Alex and maybe Chad, who knows. But you know what I mean? It's like they always had that to kind of rest on, because she sat there at that trial just with her shit-eating grin and just being the weirdo that she is, while this whole thing was going around, you know, with her sitting at the table like that and like not seeming to have any impact on her. And like here, it's just it's a different scenario. You know what I mean? It's like, I think the state's going to really, in this case, have to meet their burden. Whereas in that case, I said it all throughout the podcast. I'm like, I don't think it's going to matter if the state meets their burden as to Lori. She's fucking going down. Like I said that on repeat when we were covering that case. I'm not getting the same vibe here. You know what I mean? And the difference between Archibald and the other dude, I forget what his name was, for Lori, who were totally hamstrung. Like she would not allow them to do anything. And they took it to the extreme, because they weren't even, like, you did not see any cross examinations like you're seeing with Pryor here in Lori's trial at all. Like nothing. You know, so it's just that they're very different cases. Like going into this, I'm like, there's going to be a lot the same. They're very different. I'm actually, the longer we go, the little more sad I get that we'll be leaving it, because it's been like, I mean, if it gets to the point where we're deep in and I'm still worried, I mean, I don't know, dude. Like, I don't know. I mean, like my poll, 90 votes, 77 no, 23%. It just fluctuated. 76 no, 7 to 24 yes. I mean, the state better up the game. That's what I'm trying to say here. Like when you have a stout defense, which Chad does, like you better bring your A game, and like the state better. But look, we're talking 8 to 10 weeks, so there has to be just a litany of more witnesses. Like there's just witnesses that I wouldn't have included, that I don't know what they're bringing to the table. You know, and this thing with the pink foam is super interesting, but I don't know if they ever determined what that was. Like, I can't remember if they did a tox screen on this or not. So it's like, or figured out if that was some kind of foreign agent that was used as, you know, to poison her. You know, because remember, they had to, you know, they had to exhume the body. She had already been laid to rest. So it might have been too late for them to do a tox screen. So I don't know. Let's keep going.
As states 295D, as in David, through 295L. That's it.
Have you reviewed the?
I have, Your Honor. My understanding, there's a stipulation to their admission.
Okay, without objection, then each of those individual photos, 295D through L, are all admitted as evidence. And in terms of publication, Mr. Wixom, if you just want to work with co-counsel, and if you need to review or view that other monitor to get things lined up, I understand the difficulty where you can't use the big screen because we're intentionally not broadcasting there. The monitors the jurors have will show the images.
Mama K says, Jay, all of those who are damning you are just jealous. They aren't half the person you are, but love both you and Bob. Love you, Mama K. Thank you so
And
much.
Mr. Wixom, there's that light on the Elmo
Thanks,
that I
Mama
think
K.
helps with the shadow. If you could flip that.
Oh, Chad's head's going to, there it is.
I
Chat,
believe I'm ready to proceed, Your Honor.
Chad clip.
Okay.
Everyone, we're now in the presence of yet another miracle of the earth. Another Chad clips has occurred.
To show you what I believe are photos that you took at the scene. The first photo that I'm going to show you is a photo. It's 295D as in David. Can you see that, ma'am?
I can.
And ma'am, could you describe for the jury what is that a photo of?
This is a photo of Tammy's body as she was lying on the bed when I arrived.
As you look at that photo, can you recall what was it that you were trying to capture in that particular photo?
The position she was lying on the bed, the positions of the blanket, as well as her face.
Next, I'm going to show you what's been marked as states 295E. And ma'am, can you describe what you were trying to capture in that photo?
With this photo, I was trying to capture a closer, more focused view of her face and the foam that was on it.
Can you explain that a little bit more to the jury?
Yes, so a closer view of her face to focus more on the pinkish foam that's running down the side of her cheek.
Why did you feel like it was important to document that?
I like to document any bodily fluids that are present.
Next, I'm going to show you what's been marked as states 295 F as in Frank. Can you tell the jury why you took that picture?
I took this photo to also show how her arms were lying when I arrived, uncovered by the blanket.
Why was it important to document how her arms were lying?
It's important just to document everywhere of how she's lying as she was when I get there, uncovered from the blanket, because from the initial photos, when she's covered, you can't see how her body is actually lying.
Okay. Next, I'm going to show you what's been marked as states 295 G as in George. Please explain to the jury why you took that photo.
I took this photo because at this point the coroner had arrived and she was completely uncovered from the blankets, so just another full body photo to show how she was lying on the bed.
Earlier, you had indicated that the mattress had been moved from the box spring.
Correct.
Does this photo capture that?
It does a little bit.
Can you explain that a little bit more for the jury's sake?
Yes, so on the top right of the photo, you can see that the mattress is shifted a few inches off of the box spring below it.
Why was that significant to document?
Typically, that isn't how your bed is laid out, and it was consistent with Chad stating that they had lifted her body back onto the bed, and that had shifted the mattress a little bit when they did that.
When Chad explained that they put the body back on the bed, had he explained that this is the position that they'd last left it in?
That's correct.
I still have faith. I still have faith, Joni. I think that it could.
Next, I'm going to show you what's been marked as states Exhibit 295H. That picture.
I took this photo to get a clear portrait of the other side of her face, as well as her hair and her left ear, which had a little bit of discoloration.
Does this document the discoloration in her left ear?
Or her right ear, I'm sorry.
So you're noting discoloration in the right ear?
Yes, it's a little bit red.
Can you just be a little bit more precise for the jury's sake where you see that discoloration?
Yes, the top of her ear is a little bit more red than the bottom part of her ear, which is a little bit more pale.
Was that anything that cued you into anything as part of your investigation?
Not particularly, no.
Next, I'm going to show you states 295L. Sorry. 295I. And why did you take that photo?
I took this photo because it was a little bit closer up of her face where you can see some blood around her nose and mouth, and then some more purple discoloration in the middle of her ear.
When you say blood around her nose and mouth, is that in reference to the sputum or some other source of blood?
It's in reference to the sputum.
Does this picture document from your perspective which direction you believe that sputum had been flowing from her?
Yes.
Can you explain to the jury what you believed it shows?
It shows that it flowed down the left side of her face.
And did you find that at the time to be consistent with the way that Mr. Daybell had explained that she had been positioned in the bed and fallen out of the bed?
Yes.
Next, I'm going to show you Exhibit 295J. Why did you take that picture?
I took this photo to show the foam and blood running down the left side of her face.
Okay. At this point, why did you need to take this picture of the foam running down that side of her face?
Because I had never responded to an unattended death that had foam coming out of the mouth, so I felt it was important to document.
What was your intention of taking yet this photo when you had some other photos already of the pink foam?
This one specifically showed a little bit more of the blood running down the side of her face and not just the foam.
And at that point in the photo, being there in real time, could you tell if that blood running down her face, had it dried, any change in color at all?
I don't think I checked that at the time.
Next, I'm showing you 295K. Why'd you take that picture?
I took this photo because at this point the coroner had arrived and some of the fluid from her face had been cleared off, so I just took another photo after it had been cleared off.
When you say because the coroner had arrived, did the coroner give you any instruction about other photos that you should take?
No.
So you did this at your own behest?
I did.
Okay. Lastly, I'm going to show you what's been marked as states 295L. Can you please explain to the jury, please, why you took this photo?
I took this photo because at this point she had been moved to the mortuary and some time had passed. And so I took this photo to show some bruising and color changes that had happened on her skin.
When you say bruising, can you identify in that photo where you believed the bruising had identified itself?
Yes, on the top of her forehead showed a little bit more bruising, as did her mouth and her neck, chest area.
And at this point, do you see the pink foam in there anywhere?
I do not.
Had you done anything to wipe or remove the pink foam at that point?
I did not.
Based on your observations, did you check Tammy's body to see if it was cold?
I did.
And the result?
Her body was colder than the room temperature when I checked it.
Did you notice whether or not she had rigor mortis set in?
I did. Her body was stiff, which is consistent with that being set in from my experience.
In addition to noticing the pink sputum and what you thought was bruising, did you notice anything else on her body at any point?
I did.
What'd you notice?
After the coroner arrived and we had moved the blankets off her body, I did notice lividity on the back of her legs and on the lower back as well.
Can you explain to the jury, in case they don't know, what does the word lividity mean?
Lividity means when you pass, the blood in your body will pool to the lowest part and cause kind of reddish bruising, which is referred to as lividity.
And once again, where did you identify that lividity?
On the back of her thighs and on the back of the small of her back.
From your perspective, what did that tell you?
That told me from my experience that she would have been lying on her back for a significant amount of time after she died.
Okay. Now, at some point, I'll withdraw that. At some point in the interaction, did you go and have a conversation with the deputy coroner and the coroner?
I did.
And what was discussed there?
The cause of death was discussed, as well as whether an autopsy was to be performed, and as well as things that were said to the coroner.
Okay. And again, your role as law enforcement, do you have any role in determining cause of death?
No, I do not.
And do you have any role, as you understood it, to determine whether an autopsy should be performed?
No.
Okay. Did you ever discuss the potential for an autopsy with Chad?
No.
Did you ever hear him discuss that with anybody on scene?
No.
Mr. Rickson, are you done publishing the photos?
I am. I'm sorry.
If you are, go ahead and we'll turn the lights back up. We'll keep the audience seated where they are for the remainder of the day.
Ma'am. So I think this is the last couple of questions, ma'am. Did you eventually do any kind of medication check at that home?
I did.
Did you determine whether or not you believed Ms. Daybell had been on any medications?
Yes.
What did you determine that she was on?
I was told by Chad that she did take fluoxetine for depression, and then some natural remedies and over-the-counter medications as well.
Was there any evidence, as far as you're concerned, that she could have been overdosed on something?
No.
And with respect to anything else about that investigation that caused you any concern about anything suspicious at that point in time?
No, there was not.
Yeah. You know, that's all the questions I have at this time.
All right.
And at the bottom of your report, Officer Greenell, you prepared a report in regards to this incident, is that right?
Yes.
And at the bottom of your report, you made mention that the coroner determined an autopsy was not necessary unless the family wanted one, which they did not.
Correct.
So from what I read from your report was that you discussed the option of whether an autopsy would be performed, and the coroner determined that it wasn't necessary. And then subsequent to that, the family decided they did not want an autopsy. Would that be fair?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Now, I also noted, did you have a chance to talk to Brenda Dye and Cami and Deputy Coroner Wilmore about this case in detail?
At the scene I did, yes.
Okay, did you discuss the fact that there were some old bruises on Tammy's arms?
Yes.
And that, were you aware that Coroner Dye made note of that they were old, from some time before this incident, bruises on both of her arms as well, correct? She just testified to it, Judge.
Overruled.
The fact that Miss Dye noted in her coroner's report that there were old bruises on her arms, correct?
I wasn't aware if she knew the age of them.
Okay, but you are aware that there was a discussion with you folks about the fact that there were some old bruises on Tammy's body, correct?
That there were bruises, correct?
You were also aware that when you looked for the medication, you saw the it's Prozac, right? Fluoxetine?
I'm not sure what the generic is.
Okay. Acetaminophen, right? Some ibuprofen?
Correct.
Vitality extracts, which are, like non-traditional medication, correct?
Correct. And like essential oils.
Like essential oils that she would use. And then Chad talked to you a little bit about the fact that she was experimenting with essential oils as well, right?
Correct.
Okay. And then some extra strength acetaminophen. There was also some cough medicine that was found there as well, correct?
Yes.
And that's important because when Chad first spoke with you, he said that she was having coughing fits, right?
He did.
And you were able to confirm the fact that there was cough medicine as part of the medicine that was at the table at least at that evening, correct?
Correct.
You weren't able to tell whether she took it or not that night, but clearly on her side of her bed, there was cough medicine, right?
Correct.
Okay. And then again, some essential oil. What is essential oil respiratory blend? I don't understand what respiratory blend means when it applies to essential oils.
That's what the bottle was labeled.
Did you happen to look into what that's for?
I did not.
Well, the word respiratory implies to me that there has something to do with breathing. You didn't look any further than just noting that it was it was some respiratory essential oil.
Correct.
Okay. And then below that one, you put a note that there was also a supplement for bruising and sore muscles.
Yes.
So she was taking supplements for some bruising that she must have been experiencing and sore muscles, right?
I assume so.
Okay. Well, those are the ones that the family showed you were that she was taking regularly, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Now, again, I'll go back to what he initially told you that she got up at about midnight, right?
Correct.
Military time always confuses me. So 0000, right?
Yes. That's midnight.
And then at approximately 5:40, he felt the bed and she slid off the bed. And that's when he realized that she had passed, right?
Yes. That's what he told me.
Okay. And he was pretty shook up about this, wasn't he?
Yes.
Far more shook up than anybody else in the house, right?
Yes.
He was more disturbed about this than his daughter who eventually showed up, right?
I didn't see or observe his daughter after he showed up.
He was far more despondent than his son who was there as well, right?
Correct.
Okay. And what you observed in terms of the mattress, in terms of the position of the mattress, was consistent with what Chad told you in terms of why the mattress was moved. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. So there's nothing unusual about the mattress, nothing there, correct?
Correct.
Okay. And as far as medical conditions, again, while he was discussing with you, he was pretty despondent, pretty upset, right?
Yes.
Okay. And as well, he was trying to talk to you. He made something that she had taken some steroid shots for some sore muscles, that she had fallen a few months ago in the driveway and injured her arm. Did he happen to mention to you that she was having incidents of falling, unexplained falls that she was making?
Not that I remember.
Don't remember that? You didn't have a body cam on either, though, did you?
I did not.
You didn't have a recorder with you either, right?
No.
And you were going to an unattended death. Are you issued a body cam?
I was.
Are you issued a recorder?
No.
Okay, so you are issued a body cam. It wasn't available, or was that one broken too?
I believe it was charging at the time.
Okay, all right. And then he mentioned that she had been feeling sick, had a cold, and that she had low blood pressure, and that she'd been fainting occasionally.
Yes.
Okay. Now, did he ever mention to you the fact that Tammy Daybell suffered from anemia?
Not that I recall.
Okay. When you looked at the pink foaming, did you happen to do some research on what causes that pink foaming?
I did not.
Okay, so you're not aware of the medical condition someone would have that would cause their mouth to foam at the mouth, right?
I'm not.
Okay. At the time you showed up, there were no bruising on the neck or the arms, like recent bruising. Is that correct?
Correct.
And there was no indication of a struggle, correct?
Correct.
And there was nothing in the position of the pillows or the sheets or anything in the bedroom that would indicate there was any sort of a fight, struggle, or altercation within that bedroom. Is that right?
Correct.
Okay. And then he also told you, Chad told you that through the coroner, that Tammy had an occasion to have minor shaking fits, right?
He did say that to the coroner, not to me, though.
With seizures, right?
I'm not 100% certain what he said.
And then were you there to talk to the daughter, Emma?
No.
But you put in your report that Emma mentioned that her and her mother were trying to do that clogging thing and that her mother had been slowing down the last couple of months. You're aware of that as well, right?
Yes, that was relayed to me through the coroner.
So the mother or the daughter, Emma, had confirmed that her mother had been slowing down and wasn't as active as she had been previously, right?
Not to me.
Okay. But Chad did talk to you about significant fainting, seizures, a number of maladies, right?
He had mentioned fainting. He didn't mention seizures to me, though.
Chad told the coroner that sometimes Tamara had minor shaking fits consistent with seizure activity.
That was what the coroner.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay. Okay. So at this point, after this was done, it was the determination made that it was not a homicide or any foul play as a result of this, correct?
I'm not sure exactly what the determination was that was made by the coroner.
Okay, and we'll get to that with the coroner, but from your pictures and your assessment, it didn't appear that there was any foul play from the pictures that you took. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. Judge, I have nothing else. Thank you.
I think that's going to do it, man.
Any redirect?
I think you're
Just a
right.
few, Your Honor, a few questions.
Very well.
Oh. If you came in late, they are ending today at in about 15 minutes, a half hour earlier than they normally do.
Officer Greenhalgh, you were just asked some questions about a body cam.
Correct.
At that time at the Fremont County Sheriff's Office, was there any requirement that you have and use a body cam for any purpose?
No.
And you said yours was charging?
Yes.
Does that happen sometimes during your shift?
Yes.
You were asking questions about, right question about by the time you showed up to the scene. Do you remember that reference from defense counsel?
Yes.
Yeah. And you were asked questions about essential oils and some non-prescription items that were found?
Yes.
Now, did you have any information outside of what Chad had told you about whether it was Tammy who'd been using those things?
Not outside of what Chad had told me.
Did you have any information other than what Chad told you about how long those items had been in the home?
No.
And to be clear again, at the time that you responded, Tammy was cold to the touch.
Yes.
And as far as you knew, she had had rigor mortis set in.
Yes.
You were just asked questions about having been told by Chad, the coroner having been told by Chad, that Tammy had been having seizures. Remember that question?
Yes, I do.
But to be clear, that was never told to you directly.
That's correct.
So then is it accurate then that Chad told you some things and then told other things to the coroner?
Yes.
Your Honor, I don't have any further questions.
All right, thank you. That will conclude then the testimony of this witness. Is the state intending to recall Officer Greenhouse?
I'm sorry.
Will the state be recalling the witness? No. All right. The defense.
And Judge, I also subpoenaed Officer Greenall to be there, but I'm going to excuse her from that subpoena. She won't need to show up, and I think we've covered everything that we need to cover at this point.
All right. So that excuses you from any further subpoena. You're released from those. Thank you for appearing to testify. And you may step down from the witness stand.
It's a real
I don't believe there were any exhibits up there with her. Counsel for the state, do you want to get started on another witness?
So sorry. We certainly have a witness available, but given the time, would the court have us go ahead and call that witness?
Let me have a real quick sidebar to discuss whether that makes sense.
No, doesn't make sense. It's 4:46, sir, or 2:46. If you're ending at 3 o'clock, it does not make sense to start a witness right now.
All right, counsel, we just did discuss scheduling. Given the next witness that's coming up and where we are and where we would need to end for the day, I think it's a logical time to break for the afternoon and not divide that witness's testimony up over 2 days. So for that, we will go ahead and conclude for the evening a bit early. Thank you for going through without an afternoon break, ladies and gentlemen of the jury. We are going to conclude then. We'll continue tomorrow morning at 8:30 with additional testimony on the state's case in chief. I will admonish the jurors again as you break for the day. Please make sure to not discuss this case and the evidence with the case queue is always free. With that, then anything further we need to bring up this afternoon before we break for the day from the state?
No, Your Honor.
Anything further from the defense?
No, Your Honor. Thank you.
Okay.
All right, so we will be back.
Exciting. So, Jay, I'm going to make a prediction. Zulema, I think, is going to be based on that's what the judge said. Like, because he made that comment about considering who the next witness is. I'm guessing it might be Zulema time. Zulema Pestanes.
And that's
it's time to hear from her.
It's one of the biggest witnesses we're going to see for the rest of the trial. So that's
she's a big one.
And you, sir, so you are probably going live tonight, right? So make sure, folks, you have on.
I mean, has anybody seen Dizzy or Mandy all day? Have you seen them? I thought I saw maybe Mandy early.
Mandy, yeah, she messaged me earlier, but she has like that weird thing of life with like kids and stuff. How dare she? First of all.
I know. And Dizzy very well could be sleeping after a month of no sleep.
Yeah, which she deserves.
Yeah, because I was asking them to fire me up a thumbnail, but they have been non-responsive. So, and I haven't seen them in the chats for a long time. So, I had Dizzy's out today.
So either way, make sure you have your notifications on, or even better, follow Tracy and Dizzy's Discord. Seeking Justice gives you the notification every time, or even Bob's Discord gives you the notification too. Mine's not that good, but Bob's and Dizzy's and Tracy's are really good. So if you don't get them on YouTube, which some of us don't, it's bizarre, but you would think YouTube would want to notify their people that, you know.
Yeah, and tomorrow morning when we start, I'm going to go through what has to be shown for a conspiracy charge in Idaho. I saw a couple people asking about it. I do it now, but I have to go take Scout to get some shoes for her play, which is opening on Thursday. So,
nice. Do you want me to set up like 15 minutes early tomorrow?
Yeah, if we want to come on a little early, we can go through exactly what needs to be shown. And frankly, conspiracy charges are not.
Oh, there she is.
There she is.
Jay.
Well, we were doing a trial. We were doing a trial. Oh, she's eating a Pop-Tart.
If I don't see you before Thursday, which is good luck with your show.
Thank
Big
you.
play. Yeah, it doesn't
You
start
excited?
Thursday. It's Thursday, Friday, Saturday. Just so you know.
I don't know.
You ready to go? You got your lines memorized? You're good to go?
Good old Annabelle. Good old Annabelle.
Who's Annabelle?
Oh, Anastasia. Sorry.
Guys, look. Watch out.
Watch out for what?
Me.
What's this? That seems like.
I stole it out of Karen's closet.
Yeah, she stole it from her big sister's closet. So completely inapplicable to her. You know. All right. So we're going to go get her shoes. We love you all. Thank you for being with us all day. Another riveting day of testimony. Another day where I feel
Hey,
like the
guys,
state
look.
really needs to put some more evidence on.
Meg P has a.
Meg P has a what? She has a niece named Scout. That's right. Go figure. Isn't that amazing?
If you're following Delphi, make sure you have Bob's. You're subscribed. I'm sure you probably are already, but at some point he's probably gonna go live, and then I'll set up the stream for tomorrow. We normally start at 10:30 Eastern. I'll set up for 10:15, and then Bob can break down what they need to prove.
Cool. And
We never got pizza.
I know we got to do it.
There's always time. The one thing that I know about this world is that Hawaiian pizza will always exist.
Unless it gets canceled because it's so bad.
No, it's delicious. It's delicious. But you and Jay have very, poor palates. Like you.
I think we have good palates. I don't know about you.
I think your
Stan.
palates stink.
I think
Stink.
it's great.
Great.
All right, we love you all.
Love
Thanks
you
for
guys.
hanging all day.